Powerhouse Pastoral manage close to 12,000 hectares, and basically we run a breeding, fattening, feedlotting and trading operation, and within that there's significant numbers of cattle.
Every Monday has been a feedlot draft where we'll go through and we'll draft 2B doubles of cattle going to two different markets. At least one, if not 2 days a week, there'll be processed cattle that have come in from sale yards that we'll process to go back out in the paddock. And then our programs being once a fortnight, we'll process cattle to go on to feed.
And we identified that at the end of the day, with our old sets of yards and our old crushers, that there was smarter, more efficient and safer ways of doing things, and hence we went with the silencer. In doing that, it's definitely made our life a lot easier and safer for our men and the cattle to begin with, which is number one. At the end of the day, we love using it. We're not busted at the end of a day now, and we're certainly not hurting the cattle. It's very gentle on them.
Throughout the year, we've got preg testing, calf marking, all the operations that are involved in the big breeding herd, which this year we'll calve here about 2,000 cows.
We buy and sell upwards of 200 head of cattle on a normal week through the feedlot and or trading. That could be more cattle on that, plus our homebred cattle as well. So we put in significant numbers of cattle through these yards, like in excess of possibly 1,000 head a week. So basically we go with a full catch and handle of the animal, where we go drench, bovilus, 5-in-1, and a full ID system, retag the animal depending on where it's going and what section of our operation.
We'll draft 5 ways, and from that we'll determine, based on the numbers, what cattle go where into for the two different markets.
For us and my staff to be able to come in the morning, see some arrival cattle, turn around and say, right, we're going to put them through the yards, there's certainly no issue with I suppose, rank cattle is the term anymore. They can be as wild as they want, and this takes all those hindrances away by just holding them firm and safely. It's safe for them and safe for our men.
Just the ease of using it, the speed of going through. It's when we're processing, we get through it pretty quickly. In saying that, it's never a race. I don't think it should be a race to see how fast you can get through it. So you take your time, you do the job properly.
I wanted to make sure everyone could do this type of work, not just the men, and I mean that in a polite way. I mean it where I could give Beck a roll for the day and go, right, you've got 100 head of cattle to go and induct, and I know safely and efficiently she would get that done with no trouble at all. We can take our time with the cattle and get the data collection right.
And the ease and the control the squeeze gives you, particularly when we're doing our AI program. After a while you sort of squeeze them enough, you catch them by the hip and they basically stand. The squeeze seems to have a calming effect on cattle.
And now we try to keep more people down the back to keep the cattle up at the front. So especially with the draft system, the way we've designed it.
We went with the head bars on both sides, which as I said, we use slightly differently probably to their design, but we've got the capability to use them. We went with the full size crush because our cows are pretty big and we want to be able to put bulls through. So very purposely went with the 2 vet gates on the near side because of that issue with the size of handling and AIing and pre-testing heifers, and the ability that gave the technician to work through that middle gate and be much closer to the animal. We went with the kick bars because it wasn't an expensive option, and we thought if we've got them, we've got them. We don't have to use them. We haven't used them very much since.
And one thing we do enjoy is now that we're not busted on an afternoon after catching 400 or 500 head of cattle, which has been normal days for us when we have to get it done and dusted. And you're rotating blokes across the front of the crush because it's so physically demanding. Whereas now, someone wants to come up and control this, you get almost bored standing there, so you go down the back to chase a few cattle.
Ours is fully suspended, so that the weigh cells are above the crush. The crush is suspended on those. As far as from a cleaning point of view, it's amazing, especially when the yards are wet.
Being able to lift the crush, about 2 foot off the ground, you can clean it properly. I think you're saving your infrastructure by being able to clean it properly.
Actually, the RFID scanner is on the crush, on the offside of the crush, but the scale head is mounted and the person that's operating the levers it's right there in front of them, and then we've got a full computer screen built in, a stainless steel cabinet for the Genius program.
By the time you physically caught them, got them in, got them out, had to do what we do anyway, you're probably budgeting close to a minute per animal, whereas now it's probably 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds. It's a pleasure to be in the yards now. Everyone who's worked at a bad set of yards knows it. That's a really simple way of putting it. If it's a terrible designed, poorly looked after or dangerous set, it makes your day a lot longer and a lot less enjoyable.
You hate going to the other sets of yards that haven't got it. So you become a bit spoiled, really.